Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the DodgerBlue.com YouTube channel and podcast. My name is Matthew Moreno, and joining me for this special episode of Dodger Heads today are Nick and Adam from Blue Jays Today. Guys, I appreciate you joining me. How are things? I know it's probably easy to answer, but how are things going in Toronto right now?
Things are doing pretty good, man. I'll be honest. My head has just stopped pounding from the other night celebrations. But I listen, it's you guys, I mean, like you're I feel like you're used to it at this time, but over here, I mean, the vibes in the city and just like the overall temperature of everything, like you cannot go anywhere. You can't go out and buy a coffee. You can't go do groceries. You can't do anything without just seeing a wave of Toronto Blue Jays merchandise and memorabilia, just people, wearing their hats and their jerseys and everything. It has obviously been a very, very long time for this city seeing this team get to this point. So vibes are immaculate.
Yeah, and it's been emotional too. I mean, I broke down crying when we were watching our live play-by-play of that Game 7 against the Mariners. It's a long time coming, right? I'm 27 years old, so is Nick. So this was the first time we've ever got to see our team touch the World Series in our lives. So it's been a long time coming, and I'm excited. We're playing free money right now up against the Dodgers, so we're pretty excited.
And now I throw that question back to you. Vibes in LA right now.
Yeah, a lot of excitement. I think sort of and we're going to get into a lot of this. I think also there is a sense of inevitability, if you will, and I know it's going to make for an interesting discussion considering the teams we both cover, and we're obviously on opposite ends right now. But the Dodgers, I will say, and we're going to get into all this, so this is great. As the season was kind of going for the Dodgers, they were falling short of the lofty expectations that were on them heading into the year. So now, the playoffs rolled around, the wild card series started, and, they took care of the Reds pretty quickly. The Phillies were viewed similar to last year with the Padres of, hey, the NLDS is, kind of the World Series in some sense for the Dodgers. Of course, you still need to go play the rest of the games. But yeah, there's excitement. There's certainly, an expectation of, hey, Dodgers are going to win this. It's sort of just a matter of, is it 5 games, 6 games, 7 games type thing. But yeah, a lot of the emotions you guys expressed, I think our fan base went through in 2020. And obviously that, you layer in the pandemic and stuff like that. That was just a difficult time. And then I think also again in 2024, where it was sort of, the quote unquote real in some sense, World Series season where it was a full 162 games, got the parade and all that stuff. So the emotional aspect, I think, definitely tilts more towards Toronto.
Well, and I know that we're going to get into more of this later, but as you were speaking right there, on a recent podcast that we just did, I was talking about how in one aspect of things, I feel so jealous of you being able to watch a team that is consistently doing this. But another aspect I don't, because correct me if I'm wrong here, like if you win, it's kind of like we hit the expectation and we did it. And like there's more of, I guess, a risk of being, extremely disappointed if you lose, right? Whereas like for us right now, like we've been saying, we're kind of playing with free money. And if they do go on and do it, like, holy mother of God, this is incredible. But if not, like, yes, I'll be sad, but I won't feel anger towards this season.
The Blue Jays over-under win total, I think, was under 80. So we're just happy to be here.
Yeah, there is definitely something to that. I will say, at least from our channel, look, there are other, Dodger outlets that cover the team that we certainly, I know, not that you guys are asking this, but we don't control like what they're sharing in their perspective. For us, we definitely try to remind, our viewers, and I think our followers do have a good sense of, hey, as much as there are expectations, it's baseball and anything can happen. And we are trying to caution that even with this World Series that, yes, the Dodgers are favored, but let's, Vladimir Guerrero, we're going to get into him. He's on a great run right now. The Blue Jays are where they are for a reason. To the point of, expectations and failures and can there be excitement with the World Series? I think the Dodgers also, they've been, you guys alluded to it. They've been perennial contenders for several years. They've been eliminated in the NLDS, multiple times, back-to-back years type. Like, so there have been the shortcomings that I think help, set a reminder of, hey, as much as the Dodgers are expected to contend for a World Series, nothing can be, taken for granted and guaranteed.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Well, let's talk about it, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
Blue Jays versus Dodgers. Obviously, Dodgers are heavy favorites. What do you like about this Dodger team? I mean, I can tell you everything I like about this Dodger team, but let me hear it from your perspective.
Yeah, so for us, it's obvious. It's kind of starts with the rotation at this point, and that we've covered. I'm losing my train of thought here. I apologize.
All good.
Dodger starters, it was expected to be a strength of the team, like I said, heading into this season. Then you had injuries. Blake Snell went down early. Tyler Glasnow missed some time. Clayton Kershaw was still recovering from off-season surgeries, and frankly, where he's at, obviously Hall of Famer, this, that, and the other, but he wasn't expected to carry the group by any means at this point in his career. So you weren't necessarily sure what to expect from him once he came back. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, his second season there, he's certainly built on an impressive rookie year, but you've really seen, Dodgers have benefited, it's turned out, from Glasnow and Snell both missing significant time during the season, because they definitely look plenty fresh in October, and the Dodgers rotation has been on literally a historic stretch. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, so I apologize for that. But the collective ERA that the starters put together in the NLCS was the lowest and the best mark in MLB postseason history, where the NLCS or ALCS. So that is definitely leading the team right now. Of course, that being said, you have a lineup that Shohei Ohtani, who I know might be maybe a little bit polarizing for to discuss, but you have him at the top. And as much as the narrative throughout the wild card round, the NLDS, and even through the beginning of the NLCS was he was slumping, all of a sudden Game 4 comes around and he hits 3 home runs, and he
has the best game ever of all time.
Right. He reminds you he's still Shohei Ohtani. And Freddie Freeman has obviously been there before. Mookie Betts has been there before. So if you're the Dodgers, you lean on the rotation and you sort of hope that the offense kind of has their 1 or 2 big breakout games that haven't quite been there yet. And I think one similarity the Dodgers and Blue Jays share, and I wanted to hear from you guys, is the bullpen and kind of trying to hide and protect that group, if you will.
Yes. Yeah. And that is definitely... That's been an Achilles heel for the Toronto Blue Jays, not even just this year, but in prior years as well. We've seen some really good teams fumble because when they get into that 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, it all comes crashing down. And I will give you guys a lot of credit, right? You have done a much better job up until this point of being capable of hiding that pen, because when Yamamoto goes 9 innings and when Snell goes 8 innings, I mean, you don't really need a whole lot of bullpen. Whereas for us, we were, in a situation where we almost, weren't in this spot right now, because in Game 5, we were forced to use that pen and our manager made the wrong call. And granted, he has made some incredible calls in this series or in this postseason run so far. I've been liking a lot of what he's been doing, but inevitably you're bound to make a mistake. And some of those bullpen guys are bound to make a mistake. And the person that I'm referencing right now is Brendan Little. He was put into a spot that he probably should never have been put into. But that's just going to happen when your starter isn't capable of going as deep as some of your starters have been capable of going. So, we were breaking it down on our channel, and we were saying if the Jays have any chance here of being able to knock you guys off, it's going to require them working Blake Snell and working Yamamoto, because I don't really see a reality where, we tag Blake Snell or Yamamoto or honestly any of your guys for, 5 or more runs. But I could see a reality where, should he leave the game in the 5th after giving up 1 or 2, then that Toronto Blue Jays offense is capable of coming to life and working some of your pen. And similarly speaking, vice versa over here. Granted, our starters obviously haven't been on the historic run that your teams has.
Yeah, so I want to go back a little. You mentioned, kind of managerial decisions, things like that. Take me through the ALCS, and maybe even, heading into the postseason to begin with. Obviously, tied with the Yankees for the best record, got the tiebreaker, kind of started the playoffs on, an impressive run, sort of sending a message. And then I know Aaron Judge has his big moment, but Blue Jays get through that round. And you get to the ALCS and they lose the first 2 games at home. What was the city? What were you guys? What was that like?
Yeah, it wasn't good going down 0-2, because we were thinking, oh, wow, the Mariners are, they're coming off of that 15-inning battle in Game 5 against the Tigers. And we're thinking, oh, wow, then they got to catch a flight over in the West Coast to the East Coast. They're going to lose some sleep. They're going to, you know what I mean? Like, we have all the advantage. So going down 0-2 was not that good. However, I do got to give the Blue Jays a ton of credit. They did not waver at all from their approach. And this is something that is going to be highlighted constantly in this World Series, is the Blue Jays in those first 2 games offensively, they didn't show up as much, but what they're doing is they're trying to attack and ambush early. They know the starting pitching staff and all the pitchers over there on the Mariners are very good. One of the best staffs in baseball next to you guys. So what they knew is we can't go down 0-2. We got to get and attack them early. And if you look at all the expected numbers and all the balls, batting average of balls put in play, they were getting kind of unlucky. But I give them a lot of credit. This is how they've been playing all season long. If they go on a 2-game win streak, they don't panic. They don't switch up how they approach the next guy the next day. We're going to look for our favorite pitch that we like, the one we've had most success on all year long in my favorite quadrant. And when I get it, I'm going to do damage. And they did that in game 3. They did that in game 4. They kept doing that for the next 5 games, and they won 4-5. And here we are in the World Series. So I think that is what they're exactly going to try and do to the Dodgers starting pitchers. They can't go down 0-2. I can't even imagine going down 0-2 against Snell, Yamamoto, Ohtani, or Glasnow. You're cooked. You're not going to have a chance. So if the Blue Jays can do what they did in the ALCS against the Mariners, they're giving themselves a shot against the Dodgers.
And just to be clear, whilst they can battle through the adversity and don't freak out, that's not the same over here, because we
will be freaking out.
Yeah, we were freaking out when we were down 0-2 and thought it was done and dusted. And then obviously, I mean, the boys just been battling through adversity all season long and did it one more time, right? Most comeback wins in MLB for a reason. And you kind of saw that on full display in the course of that series.
Yeah, that's an interesting wrinkle to all this Blue Jays. I think they finished with 49 comeback wins during the regular season. Dodgers right behind them at 48.
Right behind them.
Yeah, it's, hallmarks of both teams. It's, not to stay true to your approach and obviously, not that professionals in general give up, but I think these 2 teams specifically have shown, they're going to keep playing all 27 outs. You brought up a good point about the Blue Jays approach and trying to ambush starting pitching. I felt like the Brewers sort of did that a little bit at times against the Dodgers as well. Do you think where's the balance with that being the team's approach versus if you do that too aggressively and it works, if Blake Snell is able to induce a bunch of soft contact or get quick outs, then you're not getting into the Dodgers bullpen at that point. So how do you think that balance sort of needs to be worked?
To be completely honest with you, I think that we just lose, actually.
You need results, right?
Realistically, that's been the way that they have operated as an offense and played the game throughout the entirety of the season. And in those first 2 games, credit to Bryce Miller and I forget who the second Mariners pitcher was.
It was Gilbert.
Yeah. I mean, credit to those guys over there. Like, it wasn't working, and we were kind of complaining at the fact that we were not capable of having these extended at-bats that we've seen them do at certain points throughout the season against Bryce Miller and Gilbert and various others, and we saw them go down 0-2. I think that if we see that happen to you guys, the honest truth is there's not enough time for this offense to adjust, and I don't think I really want to see them make some wild adjustment, after, let's just say, for instance, they did lose those first 2 games and they were trying to ambush you and it was not working. I want us to stick with what we've been doing. It is a high risk, but also a high reward strategy. And you're right. When it doesn't work out, you look really stupid because, there's the starter in the 5th inning at 45 pitches and you haven't been able to do anything to him yet. And you're just getting cooked. But then on the flip side of things, when it does work, like the game is blown wide open and now you're having to go to your pen, way earlier than you wanted to. So it's a high risk, it's a high reward strategy, but this is credit to your team. I think for the Toronto Blue Jays to be able to beat the LA Dodgers, it does need to be an all-in approach. We don't have the luxury of, kind of sitting back and
we can't be 0-2. Like I said, you cannot go 0-2.
You can't. Like the strength of this Blue Jays squad has been that lineup and the capability to ambush on starting pitchers all season long. So to go away from that strength now, even if it's not working in game 1 or game 2, I think it'd be a pretty irresponsible approach from the manager and from the lineup.
Yeah, it's fair. Great points. That's definitely going to be interesting to see how that sort of unfolds. You mentioned the lineup. I want to, watching from afar what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has done in the playoffs this year. Certainly impressive. Not only the slug, but I think, his chase rate looks like it's way down. what can you guys share? Just, obviously watching him much more closely than I've been able to.
Man, it's awesome to see. I'm seeing a confidence out of Vladdy I've never seen before. He's had his ups and downs. I mean, you look at his baseball reference, you can see it right there. Even throughout the regular season, some ups and downs. And he didn't finish with what we'd say is a good year for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He hit low 20 home runs. Like, it wasn't very, very impressive. But what I've really seen, and I actually saw this adjustment during that time off when we went to the ALDS and the wild card rounds were happening, there was a mechanical adjustment with him. A lot of his launch angle during the regular season was at 0 or 1 degree. Like, it really, or the launch attack. It was very much line drive. And Vladdy's always been a line drive guy. But the difference is getting a little bit more degree uptick in that attack angle is what's creating a more backspin, is what's creating that ball to travel a little bit further and find some gaps and find some holes. And he's always been talented. He's always hit the ball hard. Just a little minor adjustment on his launch angle has made the biggest difference in the world. And again, like I alluded to, confidence against some of the best and carrying this team has been the big one for me.
Yeah, he's always been a big ground ball hitter. And I still saw some ground balls that actually went for base hits in those series. But you're now seeing that launch angle, for whatever reason, just tick up a little bit more. And I mean, we all know it, right? Baseball is a game of centimeters and millimeters, and he's just being able to hit that ball in the air a couple more centimeters in the right direction,
or inches for our American friends.
Or inches.
I'm gonna have to,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to translate that for our audience.
But either way, like, that mechanical shift has done wonders for his game. And again, like, as you guys can see, like, it's been on full display here in the playoffs so far.
Yeah. So another factor that, with the World Series beginning, obviously at the Rogers Center, and if it goes to a game 6 or 7, that's going to be back in Toronto. What can you tell our audience about, where the Blue Jays play their home games in terms of just the home field atmosphere that you think the fans in Toronto can create?
It's going to be electric for certain. And I think that this honestly ties in together a little bit with what we were discussing off the top here, which is like, we haven't been to this place since 1993. In fact, prior to hitting the record button on our previous show, we just flashed up. Adam and I were looking at the 1993 broadcast and oh my gosh, man, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
The people were wearing back then, the hairstyles, the quality of everything. Like,
my parents were my age, literally. So it's been a very long time.
So I think that, you're going to see 45,000 people get a little animalistic with it in the stands. Like, it's gonna be some real medieval vibes in that arena. It's gonna feel like the Colosseum in there, man, because we have been starved for this moment for a long period of time. And look, you know who you are, you know your identity, but you're the big, bad, evil Dodgers. You're the guys who stole Ohtani.
You stole Ohtani.
Who get everyone in the offseason, right? And there is an element for, I think, a lot of our fans of it's like, this is the good underdog versus the evil, new empire, if you will.
And it's true. Like, a lot of fans feel like we always get underrated, and rightfully so. I mean, there's results that show for that in the past couple seasons, especially last season. And, we don't end up with the big free agents all the time. And there's an element of like, well, we got to just prove it ourselves. So there's a lot of pride that goes into it. I'm sure there will be for both sides. But Rogers Center is bumping. It is one of the loudest places statistically in all of baseball. So, and the dome is going to be closed. So all that audio is going to be bouncing around, staying within, man.
There we go. I have a few more questions for you guys. And thank you again for taking the time to do this with us. I'd be remiss, you brought him up, I'd be remiss to not go back to the Shohei Ohtani saga, and how that unfolded. Can you guys remember, where you were as it was looking?
Right here. We were sitting at this table right here, and we had the flight tracker live streaming for our audience.
In fact, I would be stunned if there wasn't at least a couple of your viewers that remember our faces from that day, because
they always come back and they're like, I just wanted to watch this video to feel joy again.
Yes, we had 10. I mean, I don't remember what the actual view count was, but there was thousands and thousands of people that were watching us watch the plane tracker from LA to Toronto when everybody thought it was Ohtani and it turned out to be a freaking dragon from Dragon's Den. But yeah, we will never forget that moment of time. I mean, ultimately, I guess you could say that Ohtani made the right choice because you guys have won a ring since. And at this current rate, I mean, the guy's already a Hall of Famer. I think he's the greatest player to ever play the game, honestly. So clearly that worked out for him. But yeah, there is an element of full circle, and to really put a period on that entire narrative, it would be to beat you guys. And then we can finally kind of
move on,
put that to bed and go, all right, best of both worlds. He won a ring with you guys, and we won a ring without him, so.
Yeah, where does the vitriol lie, either for you guys, or do you think, and I know it's hard to generalize an entire fan base, so I apologize for sort of putting you in that position, but in fairness to Ohtani, and this isn't just me, because I cover the Dodgers and he signed with the Dodgers, but in fairness to Ohtani, nothing from his camp ever, sort of hinted at or suggested that, yes, he was going to be signing with Toronto, and then there was a late switch, right? Like, it was an erroneous report that came out, and then it sort of just spiraled from there. But is there a lot of I know the Dodgers played up there last year and he seemed to get booed a little bit. Is there still a lot of that, kind of carrying over? Or do you think that maybe the excitement for Blue Jays to just be back in the World Series, like, that'll supersede any sort of lingering resentment?
I think they're inevitably, again, I can't generalize the fan base, but I could probably guarantee there will be a lot of people out there that would boo him. But again, it's not his fault. You're right. He was never going to come here. He visited the Florida Complex League that previous Monday. I remember it so specifically because I thought it was going to happen. He visited our complex, and we're like, oh, there's it was down to the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, but inevitably he was always going to be a Dodger. So if you use logic, it doesn't make sense that they're booing him. But again, to Nick's point, they're becoming animals now.
Yeah.
And if anybody makes me feel any way, even the slightest, there'll probably be boos. Right. But I hope that they don't take it personally. It's just part of the fun allure that is Blue Jays baseball.
And we've also been very outspoken here on Blue Jays Today. Both Adam and I love Ohtani.
Love him.
And I have the utmost respect for that man. I think that he is the most humble and down-to-earth individual. And he could, excuse my language, but he could be a dick and it would be totally fine because he's the greatest player of all time. And we'd all forgive him for it, right? But he's not. He's not that way.
He's the greatest. He's a really good guy.
Just such an awesome human being. And I wish he was a Toronto Blue Jay, and I will always feel a little bit jealous of you guys for crossing that finish line where we were incapable of doing so. But I don't harbor any negative feelings towards Ohtani in any capacity. You get a couple beers in me when it's Game 7. Maybe you never know what's going to come out. But no, right now I love Ohtani.
So sort of in that same light, this matchup is personal to Freddie Freeman with his Canadian parents and stuff like that. You guys have is that something that's kind of landed on your radar at all?
Oh yeah, we love Freddie too. I mean, World Baseball Classic. Freddie always chooses to come back to Canada. Obviously, his late mother. That's the whole reason. And his parents, from Ontario. So we absolutely love that. And I said this to Nick before. My favorite player outside of any Toronto Blue Jays is Freddie Freeman, and probably for that nationality reason.
Awesome. Yeah, and honestly, we've talked about this before as well. I want to hate you guys. I do. I want to hate the LA Dodgers, but when I think about your lineup up and down, I genuinely just like a lot of the guys that you have there. I mean, I think that Freddie Freeman and his Canadian ties is awesome for Canadian baseball as a whole. And if you've ever seen the videos of him with his kids and his wife, just looks like such an awesome dad. Mookie Betts, I think that guy might be one of the better athletes of our generation, just what he's capable of doing, not only just on the baseball field, but across, he's just such an athlete,
versatile
right?
athlete,
just an awesome person. Teo, I mean, we
love
Teo Oscar Hernandez over here too. So there's a lot of, individual players over there on the LA Dodgers and in your lineup and in your rotation that I have a deep respect for. Put them all together and have it be the most expensive team in all of baseball, and I start to get a little pissed off. But no, we up and down your lineup, I can truthfully say I harbor no bad feelings to anyone.
All right. I'm sure our viewers will be happy to hear that from you guys. A few more questions we're going to do just to give you guys a heads up. 2 of them will be baseball World Series related, of course. The last one will be a food question. I'll get it. So I'll preface that just because on our show, we, as much as we discuss baseball, enjoy baseball, our staff has a wide range of different food opinions and preferences, and so it's become kind of a, not a bit, but it's become part of our identity, if you will, where we get
I'm
into
down.
Oh, hell yeah.
food
All right.
discussion at the end. Before we get there, though, I want an answer from both of you guys. Who or what do you think is going to be the biggest X factor for the Blue Jays in the World Series?
I'm going to throw it out there. You might not see him in game one, maybe pinch hitting, but I do believe it's got to be Bo Bichette. The fact that the Blue Jays were missing out on their RBI leader, their hits leader, and still made it to the World Series and still had one of the best offenses in terms of weighted runs created plus in the last 30 years in the postseason without him is phenomenal. Now, Bo Bichette's coming off a knee injury. If he can get healthy, if he can deliver in some big moments, lengthen that lineup a little bit, that's already pretty dang long, then I think that if he can succeed, the Blue Jays can wear down the opposing pitchers, which are the Glasnows, the Snells, the Yamamotos, the Ohtanis of the world, and give a Blue Jays a better chance to getting into that bullpen.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. I mean, I could cop out. I gave a cop out answer in here, say the entire offense as a whole, which I do think is actually true. But I think I'm going to say in this one, Kevin Gausman. Gausman has been phenomenal this entire postseason, but you could argue that he hasn't been up against a lineup as deep as the LA Dodgers. And I think that is very, very true. You will most likely see Kevin Gausman, depending on how long this series progresses for, 2 times starting, maybe even 3, because it's the World Series and they are just going to throw him out as much as possible. After Kevin Gausman, and this is where I think that you guys have the edge in the rotation, after Kevin Gausman, there's a pretty significant teardrop off in terms of proven talent. I think that Kevin Gausman can go toe-to-toe with anyone. And I'm not saying that he's pitching at the caliber of Blake Snell right now, but he's actually been pretty damn close when you look at his postseason numbers. You're going to see that guy come out a ton of times for the Toronto Blue Jays, maybe even in the bullpen. Mm-hmm. If he can perform like that ace, and we can, as the Jays, win those Gausman starts, or at the very least give ourselves a fighting chance against your Blake Snells or your Yamamotos, that to me is going to be huge, because ultimately I do think that, after him, you guys have the significant pitching advantage. Oh, yeah. But if he can be that guy and kind of level the playing field there, then that might be a way for the Toronto Blue Jays to be able to pick up a couple games that maybe you hadn't expected to go the Jays' way.
Yeah, it's great analysis. All right, let's hear, if you don't mind, your World Series predictions now.
Yeah. Well, we just said it on our show. Yeah. Dodger fans, you're going to love it. I do think it's going to be a lot closer than we expect. I really do. You look at some of the betting lines, and I think they're pretty skewered right now. You got the red-hot offense versus the red-hot starting pitchers. Who's going to prevail? I'm going to say Dodgers in 7. I think they're going to get back to Toronto. Obviously, the favorite is Dodgers in 6, but I do think this Blue Jay team is going to surprise a lot of people on the big stage. Dodgers in 7.
And I am also in that exact same camp right there. I would love to be able to say Toronto Blue Jays win this, but I do think that's a little irresponsible of me with, the platform that we're on. Ultimately, I know that this Toronto Blue Jays team can scratch and can claw and can force this into, probably a further game than people would have expected. So we'll say Dodgers in 7. Would love to be proven wrong, though.
All right. I appreciate the ability to, not be full homer or anything like that is certainly respected on this channel. We, as much as, like I said, we got a bunch of Dodger fans, and we've grown up, myself rooting for the team, following the team, things like that. Like, we do definitely try to be objective. So your guys' approach that lines it perfectly with that. All right. Final question. As I said, food related here, just to give you guys a little bit of background. Our main host, Jeff Spiegel, who I know we might be able to get to link up on your guys' live show Friday morning, Friday afternoon-ish, likes to, whenever we have guests on, ask people to choose, envision yourself going on a road trip. You're popping into either a gas station, liquor store, 7-Eleven type thing, and you need to pick one drink, one snack, and one candy item.
Ooh.
What are your choices?
Okay, well, I know my immediate go-to. I like to get a little protein if I'm on the road. I like the beef jerky sticks, either the long, like Slim Jims, or beef jerky, or Jack Link's, something like that. I like to get a little bit of that. Drink wise, got to get that hydration up. I love like a body armor or a BioSteel if I'm on a long road trip. In terms of like candy item, I can't go wrong with 3 Reese's peanut butter cups. That's my
Solid
guilty
choices.
pleasure.
Yeah, that's super duper fair, honestly. Now, if considering this is a long road trip, we'll lay off the booze for the drink. If we were heading to a World Series game, it'd be a little different.
Yeah,
But honestly, I don't think I'd go with a body armor personally. But do you guys have It's the Rocks brand of energy drink, and now I'm forgetting Zoa. I think that's what it's called.
I'm not 100%. I'm not a huge energy drink person. I don't. Yeah, I have seen these around actually.
Okay, now these things, they're very far and few between. I haven't had one in a long time, but it's kind of like the healthy version of a Red Bull, I guess. So I don't know if it's healthy or not. That's how they market it. It's supposed to be the healthy version of a Red Bull.
Just no sugar. That's
so I'll take one of those bad boys. And then I will probably, for a snack item, grab a protein bar of some capacity. So give me a protein bar right there. And then in terms of a candy item, like if I'm going with a chocolate thing, my favorite chocolate bar is a Wonder Bar. I really like a good Wonder Bar. But I could also definitely mess up with some Sour Patch Kids.
Good choice. All right, Adam and Nick, I appreciate you guys joining us. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you. Obviously, interest, I'm sure, shit's going to be high, plenty of crossover. So we definitely want to direct our audience to you guys to get a Blue Jays perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can check us out on Blue Jays Today on YouTube, as well as all the social media platforms. Blue Jays Today podcast on Instagram, Today Jays on Twitter. We're going to be live tweeting this entire series, as well as Blue Jays Today on TikTok, and of course, many Spotify and Apple Podcast platforms.
And we will be live streaming every single one of these games. So should we be getting our asses rocked, and you want to come in and visualize that pain, then come check us out on YouTube. We will be feeling that pain. Alternatively, though, if we're doing some of the damage ourselves, then come on in and you can experience that too.
All right, there we go. So there you guys have it. Adam, Nick, thank you once again for joining us from Blue Jays Today. Thank you, everybody, for watching on YouTube, listening via podcast. As a reminder, be sure to check out DodgerBlue.com, our Dodger Blue app, for all the up-to-date news throughout the World Series. And then once definitely we get into the offseason as well, our coverage will not stop. So once again, that's Adam, Nick, I'm Matthew, and we will see you guys next time.